you'd need 10 pp's of whatever.
Yeah.
And then
we see him. And then this is the weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting him on the helicopter, go take him to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And Steven and Robin are just cool.
They know he's hurt. Like, he's ill.
Like,
he's not evil. He's ill.
I guess that. Like, I guess ultimately, like, he's not malicious. He's just
lonely and ill. Like, he's clearly something bad went down. So they're just like, no, we're going to at least maybe, I don't know. I would like to think that they're good people and they would like to continue hanging out with him once he becomes less of a crazy person.
Yeah.
So they're just like, you know, after all, you never told me your name. He's like, you still want to know my name? Yeah. It's Ricky.
No, it's
Ricardo. Ricky Ricardo. Babaloo.
And they're just like,
fucking, okay, I'm done with this asshole.
All right, take him away.
Mm-hmm.
So as he's leaving, I like that. He's like, you're going to be all right, pal, buddy. Am I really your buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Sure you are. Fucking all right.
And then you see, like, oh no, he's going to interject in this guy's life now in credits.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fantastic movie.
Yes.
Obviously, I believe this movie, at the time, I think lesser now that we're, like, almost 25 years later.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, this was just misunderstood.
Yeah.
It was ahead of its time.
Yeah. Weird.
People weren't ready. People were ready for another zany movie with Jim Carrey, and they kind of got that. But the tinges of just being psychotic and being a black comedy instead of just like a straight zany comedy.
And ironically, the cynicism didn't work.
Yeah.
Because even though the 90s was a very attitudinal decade, we didn't like too much cynicism in our film.
Yeah.
Or at least not in the mid to late 90s. Early 90s, certainly, and that was about it. Like, early 90s, we totally did, and then it was just sort of like, we want shiny, happy shit. Anything that sort of challenges us, we're like, fuck you, we don't want this.
Because we get to that point of just, like, the 80s were too shiny.
Yeah.
So obviously the beginning of the 90s...
The beginning of the 90s was so fucking cynical.
The pendulum has to swing the other way, hence that's why grunge was a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And
But by 96, the pendulum had to come back.
Yeah, it was coming back and everything was shiny happy.
Because if you notice, like, late 90s, early 2000s, it goes back to
everything
being
is
happy,
so
shiny
smiley.
again.
Yeah.
Because that's how it's just like at the beginning of a decade, it's either going to be dark.
It's one or the other, yeah.
And then whatever that is, it's obviously going to be the opposite in the other half of said decade. So it was either ahead of its time,
yeah,
or just too late.
I think it was a little too late.
It was a little of both.
It was a little too late. I think if this movie came out in 94, it would have been a huge hit.
Now, here's the thing. He makes this movie before all of that nonsense, and then he goes into that nonsense. Is that nonsense still...
Well, no, because we have to be in this magical world where Jim Carrey is still Jim Carrey as we know him to make this film.
But in 1994.
Before
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, so put it
Ace
this
of
way.
Dora
It is
Dash.
not possible for this to happen that way.
Yeah.
But if we lived in a magical world where that could happen, that would be the only way this would work.
But I love this film. Like I said, it's my favorite performance from him. It's my favorite movie from him. Mainly because I like weird shit. And this is one of the weirdest, if not the weirdest films he's really ever made.
Yep.
So that's why I'm giving it 10 boom bams out of 10, obviously. And obviously the MVP is going to be Chip for me because I didn't want to make him MVP in any of the other movies. But here's the thing. He's not even top billed in this movie. He's on the poster. He's obviously the star of the show, but he's not even top... Matthew Broderick is top billed.
Yeah.
Someone who, at this point, like we stated with the whole thing, isn't a thing anymore.
To be fair, it's either him or Matthew Broderick are the only ones we can pick for MVP because nobody else is really in this movie enough to count.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
you know what I mean?
Ben Stiller for the Sam Stan Sweden.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's funny because, like, this movie, as much as they said to say it killed Jim Carrey's career, which it didn't, obviously, it kind of resurrected Matthew Broderick.
It really did, actually, because Matthew Broderick went on to be in a bunch of films after that. But I do tend to actually give this, weirdly enough, I'm giving this movie a 9 out of 10. Because, yeah, for the same reasons you said, I really like this film. Again, it's kind of hard for me to judge it objectively because, like I said, the connection I do have to it, but it still has a soft spot in my heart, and the movie still works. That's the thing. It still kind of works.
I think we're so far away from that time now.
Yeah.
And we've seen other things, more serious films from him. Like, listen, you don't get the more serious roles from Jim Carrey without this movie.
Yeah.
Just flat. You don't get Truman Show
This is
without
the
this
start.
movie.
This is the start of it, and also it's also because not just that, but it's also because he at this point is the $20 million man. He can pick whatever the fuck he wants to do after this.
You can't go quick, fast, and in a hurry from Dumb and Dumber and The Mask and Ace Ventura, and then Ace Ventura 2, and even the Riddler.
Yeah.
You can't go from that right into Truman Show. You
No.
have to do something a little bit serious. You have to have a buffer.
You have to get to that
in between to get to Man on the Moon, to get to Truman Show, to get to something like later on in his career, The Majestic. Like, you have to have this where it's obviously comedic. Obviously, it's over the top. I mean, the lisp of it all.
Yes, absolutely.
But
there's some serious stuff.
The serious
in there.
tones of like some of the phone conversations he has, where he's just dead faced and deadpanned. Him standing in the rain, like,
and also it works as he. This actually became a thing he eventually started to do later. Is the cynical villain?
Yeah.
He has played that in a handful of other roles since then, and he's really good at it. It's not something that people tend to see very often from him, but when they do see it, it's actually really good.
It doesn't always necessarily have to be buffoonery.
Yes.
So we stop and end. This does, in fact, conclude our broadcasting day on Jim Carrey for now. As we transition into the next month, which is February, and like last February, this February we're doing the same thing.
Yep.
We're going to spotlight some films starring African Americans, mostly starring, producing, directing, more or less.
We try to, but as the times are going to go on, we're probably going to have to move slightly away from that, but we will try our damnedest. Because there was a couple movies I'd like to do, but it was kind of like, well, there's not enough for this to count, but eventually we're just going to have to be like, it's mostly about, African American culture is kind of more where we would go.
And we are going to be starting in the 80s by going way back to July 21st, 1989 for Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing.
Yes. A film very heavy in race relations and things of that nature.
And actually, funny enough, I mean, we're, 60-something episodes in? This is going to be one of the more serious episodes,
one of the few, yeah. It's one of the few we've done. But I will say, we're not going to get into that.
Yeah,
really.
We're
going to judge the film based on the film, because as we always state in the matters of a serious film like this, we're a couple chuckleheads. We're not going to change the world, and we're not going to try.
Yeah.
You want something for that? There's plenty of other podcasts. When you're done listening to this, you can go to them.
Yeah.
They are much more informed, and they're much better at it than us. Yeah. We are here for the yucks, and we're just going to comment on it.
Some.
Yes, they're absolutely. I mean, it is a comedy.
Yeah.
Dramedy. It's a dramedy. Yeah. So we will, we'll of course comment on it, but we're not going to get into it. We're just going to talk about the film as a film.
Mainly because we're in no position to.
Well, there's that, but it's also just a matter of we're not the guys for that. Yeah. We're just not. So we're going to have a good time talking about this film that is very important. How's that?
Yeah.
Sound good? Cool.
So until then, we're going to get out of here.
Yep.
You were Steve.
You were Justin.
And we're way back and gone.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.